Good afternoon. This Tuesday, March 31st, 2026 meeting of the Lake Oswego City Council is now called to order. Ms. Hawkins, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Buck?
Here.
Councilor Afghan is excused. Councilors Maboop?
Here.
Wendland?
Here.
Burdick?
Here.
Corrigan?
Here.
And Raff?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, everyone, will you please stand and join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, it's on. Okay. We're going to start with presentations tonight, and Councilor Raff, please come to the horseshoe.
Yeah.
As everyone knows, we're giving thanks to a departing member of the council. It is not a goodbye, because of course, he'll remain our, and always will be hopefully, our neighbor, our colleague, and our friend. Although we hope not a frequent flyer to the inbox. Although if Blue Heron does not get paved, that may be a different story. We all know on the council, we all know being able to convince one another of things is a key to being an effective member of the city council, right? There's a certain degree of persuasive energy that drives all of us. And while we've all bent one way or another to the likings of our colleagues on a wide degree of substantive policy topics, there remains one distinct area where the remaining 6 of us on the council completely and utterly failed to persuade Councilor Raff, and that is in regards to his attire. We tried, we really did. Publicly, Councilor Raff will be remembered for many noteworthy contributions he made, but privately, internally, we all know his real record is as the most photoshopped member of the city council in history. Collars, although you're all wearing a collar tonight, city pins, even his entire body. Councilor Raff came to the city council because he wasn't going to be someone to complain from the sidelines. In fact, he didn't complain at all, or at least much. Instead, he took action. He speaks his mind even when it isn't comfortable, especially for the rest of us, and is true to his values and beliefs. Councilor Raff has some of the highest integrity I've experienced in public life. Some folks will change their values to fit what they perceive would be the box politics places them in. What I like most about Aaron is that he has no box. He's driven by his ethical and moral compass and a worldview that he adheres to closely. And instead of blowing with the wind, he stayed firmly on that path and articulated his positions on not what would be the most popular or expected of him, but what he felt was most closely aligned internally with his beliefs and values. It's a noble way to govern, and one that comes from a place of deep honesty and moral fortitude. Aaron showed that when people can set aside the labels and the politics and just be people, that we can better hear and understand one another and move our community forward from a place of mutual respect and goodwill. Councilor Raff and I, we were elected to the council at the same time in 2020 and starting in 2021. And despite being told that we should actually hate one another, you can believe it, actually hate one another and not trust one another, we've become great colleagues. I admit I didn't know what to make of Aaron when he was first elected, but make no mistake, I am glad that he was, because we do not have the International Fugitive Task Force capacity for the other option. Aaron maintained an open mind, as did I, and we came to find that we actually have much more in common than otherwise, rooted in a care for the city, a care for other people, and a bright future for the kids of LO especially. What I appreciated most is his unfiltered honesty from the dais. And in that spirit, I'll share 2 acronyms, you will love these, that we picked up recently at the National League of Cities Conference, which I normally would not share, but this is in tribute to you. My colleagues know where I'm going with this. The first is STP, great acronym, the same 10 people, and CAVE, Citizens Against Virtually Everything. Aaron spoke out against the not in my backyard mentality that often stifles progress and change and keeps communities from growing for the health of everyone. He pointed out the hypocrisies we see at times, and he faced criticism for it at times, but he maintained a decisive path. Because when folks bent the rhetoric to suit their personal needs, even when it conflicted with other positions, it offended the very integrity with which Aaron led. Each year, Aaron and I had the opportunity to go to Lake Ridge Middle School to talk to the 7th graders about local government. I was always impressed that he knew all the kids, he knew their nicknames and the video games. He's connected to the families, he's connected to what kids need to have a healthy life here, and it's made him a tremendous city councilor and a leader, and the community has been moved forward in positive ways because of it. So I know I speak for everyone here when I say we're going to deeply miss working with you. We're going to miss your perspective, your drive to keep us on time, and your unfiltered charm. Lake Oswego is better for your work and service. Thank you. Oh, yes. Always has a PCI of 100.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like these kind of things. It's nerve-wracking, but this has been an absolute joy and an honor to serve with all of you. Rachel, John, Masen, Joe, like we've been here together for a long time. You know, we ran together. It's been a lot of memories. It's been a long time. Yeah, I think if I could just say a couple things to keep you guys always kind of having that Aaron on your shoulder as you're thinking through things. Don't just think about, you've heard me say this, don't just make decisions based on the silent minority, or sorry, the vocal minority. Always also consider those that aren't speaking because maybe they're nervous about speaking out, or they feel like they're gonna be attacked or whatever. So there's the silent majority that don't want to be involved in government. So let's always try to think of those people and try to think of everybody in Lake Oswego. And yeah, I think my goal as some form of politician or administrator, I don't know what you really call us, but counselor, whatever it is we do, always think with your gut and who you are. Masen, we always get in fights about this kind of stuff, but you're the same way. You stick to, you're you, and that's what makes people that do this really powerful. And so, I think in a world where politicians are distrusted, and we've all seen the emails, and it's as long as you can go to sleep at night knowing that you gave your every bit of your best to persuade on an opinion or a way of governing, then that's the best you can do. And it's taken me a long time to learn that, and it's gonna take me a long time to not be here watching you guys do it. But I think that's what all counselors have to go through when they're gone. But I know that I trust you all with everything, and I know that the city's in great hands with all you who really do the hard work. We don't really have to work that hard, but you guys have to do the hard work. So we're in great hands, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to be here and to see what we've done for Lake Oswego together. So thank you.
You want to go first? Yeah, I am missing a friend, like Martha used to tell me, Aaron is throwing things at you and you just get his bait. But it's not, we are the same, we believe. But on the opposite side, I am way on the left, Aaron is on the right. But we say what we believe, and I really love Aaron for many things. We love football together, like, I mean, real football, not like, real football. That what you call soccer, we love it, and we know his son, I don't want to say his name in public, but he's a good kid, I follow him. He's been a team player. People in the outside, oh, Masen and Aaron, we are the best friend. I think Aaron is the only one I went for a beer, or do something, we talk. But what I remember about Aaron, and I told Rachel, no, my friend is crazy. We were invited by a community who was defending something, and they wanted our support. We all, like nicely talked to them how we felt. And Aaron came, I say, Aaron said, oh no, me, I am against what you guys believe in a blunt way. I just say, what? But, and I said, Aaron is Aaron. You cannot play around. And that's, you and I, we are not politicians. We'll never be successful in politics because we say things that people don't like. And that's what I love about you. And I will miss you. It's very hard to see you go, honestly. I just say, what can we do to have Aaron stay? Because your voice will be missed. Your voice is needed in Lake Oswego, and in the world, we need all voices. And you are a very good person, man. Keep up. And I know you'll be successful in what you're doing, and, good luck. And your family will be happy to have you at dinner and other things. Thank you. Thank you for your service, man. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say it's just been an absolute pleasure to have you sit sometimes next to me, sometimes farther away. But I have to say, you guys are kind of, it's interesting. Ms. N says they're a little bit apart. Actually, I think we're all pretty together. And I am super excited that you're going to have a great career and whatever. And I think people really need to know this is a super hard decision for you because you are absolute asset to the city and to the council. And sometimes you have to put career, unfortunately, because this is actually a super, super, super high-paying job as a city councilor. I mean, and it's, you can't really even support a pet on our salary. But he's traveling a lot, and I know that in the big picture, your true heart is here. It always has been. And that's one of the things that I just love about this council. And yes, we have varying degrees of opinions and things, but I will say that to the mayor's comments, you have a voice that is so essential with having kids and a pulse on half of our community, which has been so important. It's helped drive a lot of our decisions as a city. And so I'm going to miss you more than you know, because oftentimes we were 2 votes. And even though 90% of the time we all agree, probably 98% of the time, a couple times we had to make some hard decisions. And I have a colleague that I agree with that stands up for principles. That's been my style, and I appreciate your non-politicalness, and you do just what's best for Lake Oswego without all the bullshit that sometimes you have to go through to make a decision. And that's something that you can walk away very proud. And I think our city is just so much better having you on council, and I will certainly miss you. So thank you. And good luck in the career. So you're nailing it already. So things are going, it's a good transition for you.
Well, I haven't been here as long as the rest of us, but I have been here long enough to understand how much time and attention it takes to do this job and to do this job well. And you have done that. The sacrifices come back to family and career. And I think you have a wonderful family, and I think they're going to be awfully happy to have more of you. And I wish you great success in your career, and thank you so much for your service.
I remember starting my campaign and sitting with Aaron, and that's where our friendship began. It was at Happy Sparrow. And I think he was like, what? You're doing what? You're not getting what? But it was the beginning of our friendship. And I remember election night, and the votes were coming in, and I'm like, no, Aaron, you've got this. You've got this. He's like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you got this. And I'm so glad that I was right and you were wrong, because it has been an absolute pleasure serving with you. I won't repeat everything that my colleagues have said because I know you can't stand that. But you will be very missed, and I consider you a friend. And for those of you who don't know, Aaron's got a heart of gold, and he truly cares. And I know sometimes people question because I love he just says what he thinks. You know where you stand with him, but you also go the extra mile for anybody. So I just want to say thank you, Aaron, and I will miss you. I will miss having you sit next to me right now. And just all those little adventures that you and I, as first-time council people, kind of went through and can you believe this? What? We have to do what? But you will be very missed. But I know your family's going to be happy, and I'm excited to see what you are going to be doing next with your career. So thank you very much.
Well, fortunately, Councilor Raff is not the only piece of gratitude and farewell we have tonight. If Miss Ono, will you please, I know you're not going to like it, please come forward. I know, you hate it, I know. We are saying goodbye professionally tonight with our last council meeting for Kim Ono. And if you do not know Kim, chances are you have been touched by her work, but chances are more great that you do know Kim, because not only is she a tremendous employee of the city, but she's an incredible ambassador to the Lake Oswego community. She loves this city, she loves the people in it, and she embraced the critical role the team here in the city plays in building trust in local government. Kim and I work closely together on a wide variety of exciting projects and efforts, but even I do not know the full scope of the many efforts of Kim. She's one of the people who just don't do the basics of the job. She really embodies an expression I learned growing up, Aje Quadagis, do well whatever you do. In every detail, no matter the job, you know when Kim has played a role because she gives all attention to everyone involved, tending to details otherwise overlooked. Kim is a firm believer that the more kids we can have through City Hall, the better connected our families are to LO, and the more these young residents will be to the city, and the stronger ultimately we'll be as a community. So to the mild frustration of some of her colleagues within City Hall, no doubt, she coordinated field trip after field trip, allowing kids to see the inner workings of police, fire, library, and City Hall. And to every kid that came through, she made them feel special, seen, and valued. And from putting together community meetings, to corresponding on behalf of the city manager and mayor, to listening to residents with questions, to helping connect people with resources, and then following up with them down the road, and the 1,000 other things she did for this city. She went out of her way to know people on a human level and to appreciate folks for all the small efforts that always go into making something great. And there is a lot of greatness that takes place around here. So now it is our turn to recognize Kim for her greatness, for her efforts, for your efforts, for the million times she went above and beyond. I swear she is hand-picking the grapes that we eat at these meetings. Kim, the city of Lake Oswego as an organization and as a community are better for the time and energy you spent making connections, always opening the door wider, growing the circle bigger, and expressing love for all those around you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are also tonight proclaiming Arbor Month. For 37 years now, the city of Lake Oswego has earned the Tree City USA recognition from the National Arbor Day Foundation for demonstrating a strong commitment to managing and caring for trees. Arbor Day is America's national tree holiday, observed on the last Friday of April to celebrate the role of trees in our lives and to promote tree planting and care. But here in Lake Oswego, we celebrate the entire month of April as Arbor Month. A variety of events and activities have been organized by the city's Planning and Parks and Recreation departments, the Sustainability Advisory Board, Oswego Lake Watershed Council, and Friends of Tryon Creek. So be on the lookout for the April Hello LO for details about Arbor Month events and the free urban and community forestry workshops that will be held throughout the year. Event descriptions and workshop registration are available on the city's website, and you'll find this proclamation as well as all other council proclamations on the city's website. Okay, now is the time on our agenda for public comment. I have two folks who have signed up for public comment. If you would like to provide public comment and haven't already done so, please fill out one of the white request forms on the back table and hand it to Ms. Hawkins. But Elliot Dale, you are up first. Please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes to deliver your comment. There's a little timer on the table. If you could, please, I have just said your name, but if you could start by repeating it to introduce yourself, that'd be great. Good to have you here.
Hello there. My first time here. My name's Elliot Dale. Mayor and members of the council, good afternoon. I've been a Lake Oswego resident since around 2011, and I'm a business attorney in town. I'm also a former Leadership Lake Oswego participant, chamber member, and I serve on the board of the Down Syndrome Network Oregon, which is why I'm here right now. My daughter, Lizzie, is an 8th grader at Lake Oswego Middle School and has Down syndrome. She'll be at the high school, LO, this fall. And I have 2 other kids in Lake Oswego schools, so we're a pretty local Lake Oswego household. Love it here. Down Syndrome Network Oregon, if you're not familiar, was founded in Lake Oswego by 2 local families, and it's still very much rooted here. Founded in 2001. Most of our programming happens in this community. About half of our board is local, of 12 members, and we're a fully volunteer-run organization that puts on dozens of events each year, serving hundreds of families directly and impacting thousands more. I want to thank the city for your longstanding partnership. The Buddy Walk, which occurs in September of each year and for the last 25 years has been at Millennium Plaza Park, is happening this fall. And if you're unfamiliar, the Buddy Walk is a community celebration and fundraiser that welcomes families, schools, and local businesses together to support and celebrate individuals with Down syndrome. It's a fun, visible event, but it also plays a critical role in supporting DSNO's year-round programs. This year is especially meaningful because of the 25th anniversary. And one of the consistent highlights, especially for the kids, it's a small thing, but there's always a fire engine at this event. And we enjoy having city employees and others stop by and participate. It's about an hour and a half, do some programming, and then a walk around actually the park down the gravel path along the lake, and then back up to Millennium Plaza Park. And there's usually somewhere between 600 and over 1,000 people in attendance. This year, the board's sort of stretched big and arranged for Chris Nikich to be our keynote speaker. Chris Nikich is one of the most visible people with Down syndrome now. He's the first person to complete an Ironman triathlon. He's based in Orlando, Florida, and he's completed all 6 of the world marathon majors, including Boston, New York, and Tokyo. He's an Adidas-sponsored athlete who is just launching a shoe for people with special needs this year based around him. While the Buddy Walk is one day, it supports programming that runs all year long. And I want to thank Lake Oswego for making this happen.
Thank you for coming to share that information with us. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Dale. Stephanie Halleck. Hi, Ms. Halleck.
I bet you can't guess why I'm here. I'm Stephanie Halleck, the president of the board of the Friends of Lusher Farm, and I've been before you several times. Today, I'm here to comment on agenda item 8.4 that pertains to the Willamette Greenway Funding Plan. On paragraph 2 of page 3 in the staff report, there's a proposal that $500,000 of the $1 million in Metro Share dollars originally intended to fund upgrades to the Lusher Farm driveway and parking lot be redirected to complete the Greenway Trail connection between 3 of the city's riverfront parks. We are, of course, disappointed that once again Lusher Farm improvements will take a back seat to other funding priorities, as they have in the past for the construction of the Lorac and Rasique Park. We do appreciate, of course, the benefits of completing the Greenway Trail connection, and we regret that funding for Lusher always seems to be less important than funding for some other projects. So today I'm asking that the remaining $500,000 of Metro Share dollars intended for Lusher originally be reserved for Lusher and not redirected to other park projects in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Halleck. Is there anyone else who would like to provide comment? Okay. Okay, then we are moving on to the consent agenda. There's 3 items on the consent agenda. We have a resolution declaring a vacancy on the City Council, a facility use agreement renewal for the boutique at City Hall on the ground floor there, and the adoption of the 2026 council goals and initiatives. Was there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Move.
Aaron?
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, the motion's been made by Councilor Raff and seconded by Councilor Corrigan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. First item of council business tonight is the 2025 ADA progress report. So I'd like to welcome Ms. Bird.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Kelly Bird, and I'm here today to present the City of Lake Oswego's 2025 ADA Annual Progress Report. This report highlights the progress we've made over the past year to improve accessibility across city programs, services, and facilities, and outlines our continued commitment to build a more inclusive community. In 2025, the city continued to implement the ADA transition plan and made progress in several key areas. This work includes infrastructure and facility improvements, expanded inclusive programs, and improvements to community and public safety services. This slide provides a quick snapshot of our progress in 2025. The city constructed over 9,000 feet of ADA compliant sidewalks and installed 62 curb ramps. We also saw strong outcomes in programs and services, including over 1,000 hours of inclusion support for youth registered for recreation programs and more than 2,500 residents served through library outreach. In addition, the city opened 2 accessible recreation facilities, and the police department issued 292 ADA parking enforcement actions. Together, these numbers highlight the scale of work and the level of investment required each year. There's there's a slide missing, but I'll just go what's on here. The Office of the ADA Coordinator plays a central role in supporting accessibility efforts across the city. We had over more than 100 inquiries, and we had 10 accommodation requests, and no formal grievances were filed last year, which is a good thing. The engineering department continued to make steady progress improving accessibility in our streets and sidewalks. Again, there was 9,000 square foot of sidewalk and 62 curb ramps. And then the team also designed about 60 more curb ramps that are planned for construction this summer. This kind of work happens gradually over time, especially when it comes to improving older infrastructure. Lake Oswego is making steady progress, but because of these projects are resource intensive, if possible, an increased investment would help us move faster and improve accessibility within our streets. The library continued to expand access to its programs and services. In 2025, the library offered 60 hybrid programs and more than 900 they increased their accessible materials, and they served over 2,500 residents through outreach. The library also received their new ADA accessible bookmobile Rover, which will expand outreach even further. These types of services are an important part of making sure everyone in the community can stay connected and engaged. Looking ahead, a new library will address any of the accessibility barriers in the current building. So Parks and Rec had a wonderful year with the opening of LORAC, featuring an accessible pools with zero depth entry, pool lifts, accessible locker rooms, and accessible circulation throughout the facility. Receipt Park was also opened, and it features an inclusive playground, accessible picnic shelters, a skate park, and accessible restrooms. Park maintenance staff installed ADA compliant drinking fountains at George Rogers Park, Hazelia Park, and Receipt Park, and installed ADA compliant gates at the Pilkington Dog Park. The department also provided over 1,000 hours of inclusion support to youth participating in recreation programs. Projects like these are significant investment and make a real difference in helping people participate in programs and activities. The last department I'm going to talk about is the police department. They also made some improvements. The department initiated contracting for a law enforcement-focused ASL interpreter to facilitate effective communication. They integrated the text 911 directly into LOCOM dispatch systems, making it easier for people to reach emergency services. And they also enforced the parking laws, issuing 292 actions for violation of ADA parking laws. Enforcement plays a major role in making sure that accessible features are available for those who are intended. Well, the impact in our community is great. We have safer pedestrian routes, improved mobility, access to programs and services, and help ensure that all residents and visitors can participate fully in community life. This type of coordinated multi-department approach is consistent with best practices and supports a more inclusive community overall. These outcomes are made possible through the continued investment in accessibility. Looking ahead, the city will continue to make progress towards the ADA transition plan. This includes building more sidewalks and curb ramps, launching the library bookmobile program, and continue to expand inclusive programs and services. Ongoing investment will be key to sustaining this progress. So in closing, the city is making steady progress in improving accessibility across programs and services and facilities. With continued support and investment, we can build on this progress and make even greater improvements over time. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Bird. Great presentation. Councilor Corrigan.
Well, I'd just like to take a second and say thank you very much for the pathway that crosses between Upper Drive. It's a very short pathway that crosses between Upper Drive and Lake Grove. And the mayor and I both noticed it, I think, on the same driving in. But it's very useful and it's very helpful because it's a very large distance for people to And I don't think that had been done before, and it was wonderful and good eye, and thank you very much. And the other question that I have, and this might be a question for Director Rooney, I don't know if she's still here, but how much of our budget, I know we do these things by law, but what is the budget that supports this? Do you have any idea? I mean, you probably do, but I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
Capital improvement plan. Know me, attached to my arm. Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilors. Actually, yes, specifically, we set aside, in the annual budget, we set aside, where'd it go, $750,000 a year just to focus on ADA ramps. So we have a couple projects that are just ADA ramps only. Now, that said, we spend a lot more than that every year because, for instance, I don't think he's, oh yeah, Stefan's here. He's getting ready to do a big paving project, multi-millions of dollars, of which a very large part of that is also ADA ramps. So we'll spend probably, you know, we could push close to almost $1.5 million this year. And so it just depends. So we will do the set aside of 750 for sure, and then every year as a part of our paving, any kind of paving projects, we'll have them as well. That answer? Okay.
That's a wow, thank you.
Councilor Boop?
No, I just wanted to thank you for the work. It's very important that we have an ADA person. I know about it. Miss Rooney asked me to do a ramp at the school for our bridge, and it's very expensive, but it's worth it. So thank you. Honestly, it's a good job, and we are the city that works. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Boop. I was kind of curious, like, when you get general inquiries, what's the most common inquiry you receive?
In the last 3 years, the most common is probably ADA parking.
Parking.
Yeah, a lot of the issues of parking, but a lot of it has to do with on private property. So the city doesn't have jurisdiction, but.
Okay. Then a second question, as the city's redoing its website, what are kind of the main accessibility factors we should be thinking about with that new?
Well, there's new standards that are coming out, actually next month, April, for web accessibility. But luckily, we're a smaller jurisdiction, so we don't have to implement until next year in 2027. But we're gonna have to make sure that the main thing is that making sure like the PDFs and things that we post on our website are accessible for people who use a screen reader that read the documents to them. So that's really important. It's a big project.
Does it work with the Laserfish, or all of so many of our documents?
They're supposed, yeah, a screen reader works with Laserfish, yes. But so now we have to be a little bit more mindful with what things that we're going to be posting on, online, because if they're not accessible, then that could be considered discrimination. So
I wanted to thank you too. Recently, there was some education put out on social media around putting out the roll carts, for trash and not putting them on the sidewalks, which is, we've built so many new sidewalks that we have neighbors that hadn't had sidewalks, and now they have a sidewalk. And people do tend to put the cans on top of the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting, people's, the thinking is like, oh, well, I wouldn't want to put them in the road because it would inconvenience the traffic, but you just block the entire sidewalk instead. And I wondered, because it was like, that is a good point. Again, like so many people are new to having the sidewalk, and they're like, yeah, where does the can go? Would it be, I wonder if it would even be possible as we build the sidewalks to do more like kind of direct outreach to those particular neighbors to say, hey, FYI, now going forward, just put the cans, because really the default seems to be on the sidewalk,
Yeah. So we do get complaints about that when people can't cross the street or can't go through the sidewalk because it's blocked with trash. That's why I wrote that article.
Great idea.
For education, yeah.
Is it possible to do more kind of direct outreach, possibly?
Yes, certainly when we're doing the projects and whatnot, we have a lot of community engagement with them, and we can talk about, make a more concerted effort to talk about where's the garbage going to go. It's always mailbox and garbage. Those tend to be a big issue associated with sidewalk projects, so we'll
Well,
make
it's
sure
nice when we put the
include that.
mailboxes in, that then we build the extra space so you can still get around, unlike on Country Club, which was built way back in who knows when it's just right in the middle of the sidewalk.
Yeah,
And even I have run into the mailboxes.
yes.
Yes.
Well, I would say, we built Pratt Road.
Well, fully accessible.
Thank you.
12-foot sidewalks. Councilor Wetland.
Couple questions. The 9,000 feet of ADA compliant sidewalks and pathways, did that include Lakeview?
Yes, I think it, yes, because that was last summer, yes.
Okay, what's the typical, I mean, I'm just driving at a kind of a question of, we do 60 ramps a year maybe, maybe we do 90. How many do we need? Is it like 10,000?
There is 2,288 curb ramps identified needing improvement.
Okay, so we can chip this away in people's lifetime then? Okay. And so the 9,000 feet of sidewalks and pathways, that included all of the pathway projects that we've done, right? Including,
That was just last year's.
yeah, just last year, right?
Yeah, but we've been doing, the pedestrian program itself is about 3-4 years old, so I don't have that number off the top of my head, but each of those would have had ADA compliant. Anything we build needs to be ADA compliant, so.
Yeah, so
Too.
I guess my point is that we are, I mean, I feel like we're making progress, is what
We are.
I heard for so long, well, we don't have money, we don't, and I think in the last 3 or 4 years, we're really kind of making some headways. So thank you for figuring out how to do that. And then I will say, I know it's probably a private parking lot, but I guess Zupan's is a private parking lot, but I had the best time when I was there. I was walking out the store, and one of our community police officers was just going through the parking lot, and a guy pulled into a handicap zone right in front and got out in his jogging suit, which he probably just worked out. And the police community officer just stopped. He opened his door and he said, "Hey, should you really be parking there?" And he goes, "I'm just going to be there for a couple minutes." And he goes, "That's not an excuse, sir." And I think it was well enough for that gentleman to be embarrassed, because there's about 10 of us that were all around there, and we all gave him this dirty stare. He got into his car, went back, found a regular spot, and anyway, so maybe it's one person at a time, but just keep doing it. So anyway.
It is really obnoxious when people park in spaces they shouldn't park in.
It is.
Yeah, nothing anyone here would ever.
Right.
No, thank you very much, Ms. Berg, Director Rooney. We appreciate the good update and the good work.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on our.
We're a protected class.
Yeah, well, I see. Next item on the agenda, going to make a special ticket for this, special ticket.
How about the hybrids?
Resolution is consideration of Resolution 26-09. This is the formation of our Economic Development Council Subcommittee. We have Director Numanalu. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the council. Jessica Numanalu, Community Development Director. And I regret tonight, I was hoping to have Megan Bronston join us. She's our new Redevelopment and Economic Development Program Manager, but unfortunately she fell ill, and so she wasn't able to be here this afternoon. But I do hope to have introduce her to all of you very soon. And I just want to let you know that it fills the former redevelopment position that previously was held by Sid Sin. It's not a new FTE. It basically just reclassifies that position and incorporates economic development with redevelopment. And as you know, for the past 3+ years, we've been contracting with the Chamber of Commerce to basically implement most of our city's economic development strategy originally adopted in 2022. And with now Megan on board, we have more capacity to do more. And as you know, we just began an update to the economic development strategy, which the council had a study session on in early January. And at that time, the council decided that it would be beneficial to create a subcommittee that could look at that plan in a little bit more depth and bring a recommendation back to the council for final adoption. And it would also give the council an opportunity to work with the new economic development and redevelopment program manager on it as well. And she started at the end of February, so the timing is perfect. So before you tonight is a request to adopt Resolution 2609, which would form an ad hoc subcommittee that would be comprised of 3 council members that would be appointed by the mayor, including the mayor and councilors Verdick and Afghan. And the charge of that committee would be to basically refine and prioritize the strategic initiatives and actions that are in that draft plan, and then bring it back to the full council later this spring for adoption with a recommendation. We're expecting the subcommittee will probably meet roughly 3 to 4 times over the next couple of months. We did put in the plan that the length of the term would be through the end of July, but we just did that for flexibility. We don't expect it to take that long. We hope that it will be completed by early June. And if the resolution is approved today, the next step will be to work with the subcommittee to schedule their first meeting in April. So I'll keep it brief, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Colleagues, any questions? Motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion. I'll move to adopt Resolution 26-09.
Second?
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Director Mullen, thank you very much. And thank you, Councilors Verdick and Afghan, for serving on the subcommittee. Okay, next item on the agenda is Resolution 26-19. This is the Community Grants, Awards, and Recommendations. I invite Mr. Tio Ramirez to please come forward. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's good to see you.
Company.
Okay, we're just gonna go with it. Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. I'm Madison Thiesing, the Deputy City Manager. I have the honor of introducing Tio Ramirez, our new Management Analyst in the City Manager's Office. We are here today to talk about the Community Grants Program. As you're aware, we revamped it, reconstructed it just this last year. We are coming back with another update with the Spring Awards and some program tweaks, which I will hand that over for Tio to talk more in depth. A little bit of background on Tio, who I'm very excited again to introduce. Tio's coming from the city of Gresham as a community engagement specialist. There he worked with nonprofits, community groups, and did outreach, and specifically, especially building up volunteer capacity in not only the organization, but the community. And so we are going to talk about grants today, but in the future, we'll talk about future years of how to continue to build the community partners, more than just how do we give our community dollars, but also volunteering and more synergy across organizations as well. So just a little landscape of where we're going in the future years, but I'm really excited to have Tio, and he will take it from here.
Thank you, Madison, for the warm introduction. And again, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's good to see all of you. As mentioned, my name is Tio Ramirez. I'm the Management Analyst in the City Manager's Office. And I'm here tonight to present the Spring Community Grants Award recommendations, along with a few program updates that came out of the Municipal Grants Subcommittee discussion. So this slide shows the full ranking of applications reviewed this cycle, including scores, request amounts, and the recommended awards. In social services, 4 applications are recommended for funding, and in council goals, 1 application is recommended. This gives a full picture of how the recommendations align with the scoring results and available funding. And now moving on to the recommended awards. For the spring cycle, the subcommittee is recommending a total of $20,456 in awards across both categories. On the social services side, that includes $5,000 to the Kiwanis Club of Lake Oswego Foundation, for its basic needs support initiative, $2,340 for the Friends of Lake Oswego Public Library, and the Lake Oswego, for the Lake Oswego Read Speaker event on disaster readiness and resilience, $1,558 for the Lake Oswego Transitional Shelter Ministry to support the repair and refurbishment of one transitional shelter apartment living room, and $1,558 for Reborn Bikes for bicycles, safety gear, and bike education for youth and families. For council goals, the subcommittee is recommending $10,000 for Down Syndrome Network of Oregon to support its 25th anniversary Buddy Walk at Millennium Park Plaza. As discussed by the subcommittee, the remaining $1,443 that would have been in council goals funds were added to social services and split evenly between LOT, SM, and Reborn Bikes, which had very similar scores in the rankings. This reflected the strength of the social services applications overall, along with the decision to fully fund Down Syndrome Network of Oregon in the council goals category. So in addition to bringing forward the subcommittee's award recommendation, staff also looked at whether the overall program structure is still serving the city well. What we found is that the current process creates a long cycle with overlapping phases. Applications remain open for a long period. There are 2 award points within the same fiscal year for both grants, and spending and reporting continue late into the year. That makes administration more cumbersome and makes it harder for applicants, the subcommittee, and council to clearly see results in a timely way. The 3-year limit on council goals grants and the intent of that category have also raised a broader policy question of what happens to initiatives that have already been supported, and how can the city continue to stay involved when the efforts are still successful and aligned with council priorities. I'll come back to that question in a few slides, but it is an important question that we haven't completely answered yet. This is a bigger timeline for you guys to view as well, of the current timeline of how the grants are structured. So this slide illustrates the current structure visually. Rather than having a clean beginning, middle, and end of the cycle, the program functions more like a rolling process. As Madison stated, this was our first year under the new program, and really trying it out and seeing what worked, and also seeing what didn't work, which is why we have some recommendations for you folks. So while one group, like how it's working this year with what we've seen is, while one group of awards is being considered, previous projects may still be spending funds, and final reportings may still be outstanding because it needs to be before the end of the fiscal year. So the challenge is it's not whether the timing, it's more about if it's clear and if it's efficient as it could be. So moving on to the recommendations, to address that, the subcommittee supported moving to a staggered annual cycle. Under this model, city council grants would open in the spring and social service grants would open in the fall. That would create more separation between the 2 categories, reducing overlap in administration, and place award decisions closer to the front end of each funding cycle. It also helps align council goals funding more closely with the current council priorities based on when you adopt your new council goals for the year. Beyond the timing challenges, the subcommittee supported several related program updates. The first is adopting the staggered cycle as a long-term model. The second is tightening application and accountability requirements so decision makers have more complete information, including clearer budgets, other funding sources, and basic nonprofit status details. The third is making the city's total support more clear by requiring applicants to include all city fees and permits in their project budgets, rather than those costs potentially being absorbed elsewhere. The goal is not to waive those costs through the grant process, but to make sure departments are not carrying the financial burden and the council has a clearer picture of the full financial impact of supporting a project. In at least one case, a grant award of $10,000 was paired with a $3,600 of waivers and fees and rentals from the Parks Department, so the actual city support was $13,600. This update would make those costs more visible upfront to the applicants that are applying for the grant, protect department level resources, and keep support consistent across all grant awards. This slide gets into the broader policy question raised earlier. If city council grants are intended to support specific initiatives for a limited period of time, what happens to an initiative that reaches the 3-year limit but still is successful and still aligns with council priorities? The subcommittee supported the concept of a closed sponsorship pathway as one possible answer. In this context, closed means the pathway would not be open to new applicants generally. Instead, it would be limited to the organizations or initiatives that have already gone through the council goals process, reached the 3-year limit, and demonstrated a strong track record. This would be different from a broader citywide sponsorship policy. This would create a more tailored, clearer pathway within the community grants framework for mature initiatives that may still warrant city involvement. It would also allow these initiatives to continue being evaluated by the subcommittee and council rather than being funded in perpetuity without a regular review point. In that way, it helps preserve council goals grants for a newer or time-bound efforts, so it gets them out of that main pool where applicants are applying for new initiatives, while also creating a way for the city to stay involved when an initiative continues to align with council goals and priorities. As noted on the slide, this is not currently budgeted, so staff would need to return with additional financial analysis and budget direction before implementation. Tonight's recommendation is to adopt Resolution 2619 that would approve the spring fiscal year 2025-2026 award recommendations totaling $20,456 and confirm the overall direction on the program updates discussed by the subcommittee. From there, staff would update community grants materials, processes to reflect the endorsed changes. For this closed sponsorship pathway, again, staff would need to come back with further fiscal analysis and any needed budget direction before implementation. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions now.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. And thank you to Councilor Corrigan and Councilor Afghan for serving on the subcommittee and the rest of the subcommittee. So just to help us understand, initially, we did all these grants at one time, and then it was decided we're going to break it up into 2 cycles, so same pot, but we're going to divide it up. And what was the intent with the division initially?
Meaning the funds or the timing?
The timing.
So the timing wasn't actually, it was broken up into 2. It was a rolling application. The application's been open this entire time. We just had set 2 points of review to be able to allocate the money. It wasn't like an application was coming in, the subcommittee was meeting, and then approving it.
Right.
So anyone could have applied at any point from the day we went live on August 1 to when we closed on February 27 or 28, whatever that was. The idea was with the rolling, ideas come up over year. We don't want to shut that door. Tried it this year. I think that's the thing. We try things.
Right.
We want to see how it works. It was the first time we've ever done it that way. We've always had it as grants are open for a month and a half in the springtime before the new fiscal year. That's historically what it was. The grant subcommittee had thought, why don't we try this? Now we've done it. It's a big lift to have grants open for that long when really people were applying in the fall out of understanding that's when they opened. Then the subcommittee, and I don't want to speak for Councilor Kurgan, is that then they had to hold back money to think, okay, what else is going to come? And then some reapplied, having stronger applications in the springtime, even though, again, it was still rolling. Anyone could have reapplied. Anyone could have applied. We were seeing the same batch of applications just coming back with refinement.
Right.
So
Okay.
I don't think it really ended up being what we thought, that we wanted more organic ideas to come and flow. It ended up being essentially 2 cycles anyways, because of people knew there was going to be a cutoff on this time and there was going to be a cutoff on this time. And we have to have a cutoff at some point in the springtime, or else we can't get the money out before the end of the fiscal year.
Right. And so but it makes more sense to have the council goal applications at one time and the social services applications at another. You don't want to have them at the same time?
It's also to provide more coverage over the year. So there's 8 months, so 4 months for each to have their spending. So I think that's also the part of it, is that it's within a certain amount of time. So the council goals covers like the fall, because dollars are out the door starting the new fiscal year, July 1.
Social services.
And then social services, there's another 4-month period of time that covers.
Part of it is this, this is what we were in the weeds about. You're straddling council years, being council goals are adopted in January. and then we're straddling fiscal years. So there's some predictability for social service grants. If they're starting at the beginning of a fiscal year, they know what their expenses are gonna be. We would then be carrying council goals, being what is adopted halfway through the year, and then those change in January. And so the idea was if we tack it on as the fiscal year's the social services and the calendar year is then council goals when they're adopted. So as soon as council goals are adopted, there's this flood of great ideas. How do we spark what's already underway? This is those parts where I think we've tried different models. We can try it this year and come back next year. And then I think that's really what both of us really want to emphasize is this might be iterative. When we as an organization live on fiscal years, that's not how the rest of the world works.
Right.
And so we're trying to be dynamic and responsive to the applicants while also trying to align. And we've also kicked around, maybe we think about this as a 2-year biennium because you are approving 2-year bienniums. And so we might have more flexibility with that. So I guess my staff recommendation right now is let's try this one this year for the next cycle. We're gonna come back as a routine in general every springtime to give a report on what the funding was approved for, what were the outcomes of it, which has not been done yet in previous years. So that's when we can be making those program adjustments in advance of the new fiscal year.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that it's efficient for.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I will give kudos to Councilor Corrigan if we were trying, that's why we don't want to do rolling, is it ends up being very time intensive.
Okay, but having the two different, that's fine, and it's the same subcommittee for both?
Yeah, but, yeah.
Yes. And I would just add on for the cumbersome part, with having 2 review points for both of the grants. This year, we were reviewing, for the social services, 6 applications this cycle. We only had about $10,000 to give out. So if we're evaluating both grants at two different points, and we have less money on the second round, it's also, we're receiving about the same amount of applications, so is it worth the committee's time to be doing that versus all just at one time we're receiving all the applications?
Exactly.
So splitting them out is a lot more effective use of everyone's time.
And thank you for clarifying that. We keep talking about it as it's 2 review points. It's also 2 different pools. So it is in total right now 4 applications in a way too.
Okay. Well, and then Councilwoman has a question, so it's Councilor Bowe. Real quick, one more question. I like what you've come up with for the sponsorship plan. I think that's. My God.
Must be the wind.
Put it down. We're gonna have to get those like they have in the schools. The sponsorship agreement plan, I think that's really good. Is there a process about Tio, you talked about the city fee waiver. Do we have a process for when we grant the waivers and when we no?
No, so that's what we're trying to also solve right now. So what has happened historically is departments could waive as for their own direction.
Yeah.
Those requests were also happening from multiple points of different departments. So an event might be getting sponsorship not only from grants, they could have maybe also asked from the Parks Department, or they could have asked for ad space in the Hello. It could have been coming from all these. And so the idea is that for the ones who are matriculating out, if you will, or graduating out of those 3 years, we're capturing it all in one sponsorship, which is going to council for approval. And in that sponsorship, it would say not only a dollar amount, if we are awarding dollars, it would be the fees, if there's any fees associated with it. And then additionally, if we're talking about promotional materials and sponsorship, as in marketing, putting our logo on things like that.
Okay.
So that would be the future state as
Okay.
those.
It's good to know. It's good to have some process. I know we've had events that are essentially when groups are almost standing in for the city, running an event that we would otherwise, be doing with our very limitedness. So it's like, wow. And then we're like, oh, and here's your bill for like using the park. It's like, well, and then of course they come to us and they're like, hey, what's the deal with this thousands of dollar bill? Like we're basically running your event. And it was like, yeah, like what is the deal with this thousands of dollar bill? So it would be nice when people are basically running a public event, that they don't have to go through the hoops of trying to get a waiver when it's different. It's not like someone's having their private wedding in the park, and I mean, that's a totally different thing. So hopefully we can set up that kind of
criteria that, and I'm sure there's examples that are maybe more on the line, but I'm thinking of the ones that are clearly like, these guys are really doing us a favor, like, let's.
Yeah. There's definitely conversations that are happening around that. And I think, especially with like the grant process for the for the purposes of this conversation, we want to make sure that it does not create any conflict with a broader citywide sponsorship policy that we have and implement. So that was also the piece with the closed sponsorship pathway. We want to make sure that any sponsorship, cash, in kind, that other departments do within the city, all are cohesive.
Great. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Thanks, Councilwoman, please.
Great work. It's not easy to do all this. My two concerns. One, I understand council grants and social services grants. It's already a little bit confusing to start with, and there's two things I want to make sure that we do. One, I don't want the inside people to be able to apply for things. When I say inside people, almost the professional people that go after grants all the time versus a community organization that is maybe more organic. They're not inside the Beltway. They're kind of outside the Beltway. And the big picture is this going to be so confusing to them that they won't be able to figure that out, if that makes sense? Because I loved you said organically when things start to come up. I think that's one of the great things about Lake Oswego is people do come up with new creative ideas and so on, and I want to have a mechanism for it. The other thing on your chart on the grant spending, it's only 10 months out of the year, or 8 months out of the year. So what about the other 4 months? I mean, what happens if their event is in November, there's no red grant spending in November? Does that make sense? I mean,
It does make sense. Yeah.
This has to be, I don't know, maybe you just need red everywhere. I guess we're not limiting timeframes from this, right?
Just as long as they're in that fiscal year, which is why I think if we opened it up to that biennium, right? Are we looking at the right?
Yeah, it's this one right here.
Right, but I mean, there's like November and December, and then May and June don't have any red grant spending. So I just want to make sure it's clear for people when they are going out to, if their event is in May, it would say, according to this, I couldn't get a grant.
Yes.
Or I couldn't spend it. I could get a grant, but I couldn't spend it in those timeframes. So
Yeah, under the recommended timeline, there are some months that do not have coverage. I would say under the current timeline, there were also months that did not have coverage. So this is trying to be the most mindful of like, how can we cover as many months as we can with coming back to council to report on what those grant distributions accomplished and doing that reporting, as well as keeping in mind like all expenses need to be incurred by June 1st for that fiscal year, with final reporting happening June 15th. So there are going to be some months, yeah.
So my critique on that is the tail's wagging the dog. We need to be, I think, flexible in our thinking, where if a group wants to come in and have a November or a May or a June event, I mean, okay, we'll figure out how to report to council, but my point is we should have 12 months out of the year that they can have an event. And the timing part on where we're reporting or fiscal stuff, to me, that's an accounting issue. And I get from a management standpoint of view, but I think it's going to make it less complex is my only thing.
Only have the event, or?
Well, it says grant spending. I mean, so I don't know whether that means that they spend it and then they can have the event at any time of the year, or if you look at that, I get the blue and the green and the yellow and even the magenta, but the red has to be full year, if that makes sense. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
If you're
it
going
makes
to be-
sense.
Yes,
If you're going to be
yes.
spending, we gotta open up our mindset to be 12 months out of the year. That's my only, does that make sense or not?
No, it does. Yes. Yes, it does. And that's why we might move into a 2-year cycle, being not so straddled to the fiscal year, and also a further conversation with finance. Because that debt, that closing the books kind of deadline is from accounting. So we'll work on that internally.
Right. I mean, frankly, that's an internal, I mean, to me, that's an internal issue. We'll solve it. We're geniuses at this city. We'll figure that part out.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many examples of grants we've carried over year to year to year.
Yeah, that's why, it's
Right.
just, we need to change how we used to do it. It used to always be within that fiscal year. It's time, that's why we're unpacking this whole program, is because it's not actually working for the people we're trying to serve.
Right.
Right.
And so I agree, and we will work on that.
Well, are we able to make it so if we adopt these changes that, because I mean, if someone applies and wants to have an event in January, let's say like an MLK, and we'd be like, well, sorry, your event is not July through October.
So the resolution's just adopting the money for this last cycle.
Okay.
So the rest of it, non-being the resolution, is just council direction to us to continue to refine, make those changes based off of your feedback. The resolution specifically is that $20,000.
Well, is everyone on board with making sure that people can execute these grants throughout the year?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I guess the question that I would have is, would council, so for the council goals grants, that would be in April, would you want social services and council goals to both be evaluated at that same time, and then all dollars are out June 1st?
Well, that was my question.
Well, that was kind of my initial
Yeah.
question.
And
But I understood you to like the two.
Yeah, I would just say the only benefit of having them split apart is if someone comes to you and says, hi, do you have any grants available? We only do it one time of the year, or, oh, we have these two different ones that you're able to apply for that are at different cycles. That's the benefit of having them separated. But as long as there's consistency across the board, if this is the time that we do it each year, we can give people, that heads up and they can expect that consistency, then it's less confusion for the public.
City Manager, do you understand the direction that we've given you?
Yes, what I'm hearing is that a simplified process that is once a year, the stratification you understood, but one where they could apply once a year is what I'm hearing, and that money can be used anytime during the year. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. So that there's no endpoint mid-year to the spending of the money in the terms of the applicant's view of our fiscal year.
Yeah,
Is that what I'm hearing?
I think, because even this is kind of confusing for me, and
And you're inside the belt.
I mean, yeah.
You're
I'm
inside the
definitely
beltway.
So what I would suggest is, now that you understand the direction that we're trying to do, you take this away and you come back and figure out how that process actually comes to life.
Right.
And then we can move on, approve the current disbursements.
Yes, that's what the resolution for.
Yeah, but no, it was your question, like, how do we do? Like, if someone apply in both, is it possible for a nonprofit to apply for the social services grant?
They're only for nonprofits, yeah.
Yeah, but for the
Council
goals, that's what.
Yeah, individuals and organizations can both apply for council
Yeah,
goals.
but then why would they apply 2 times when they have the same, when you are writing the grant, you have the same objective you want to apply, and you were denied the first term and you apply again on the second term? Or do you keep the same application for awarding?
not doing that.
Huh?
Yeah, that's what had kind of happened this year, it sounds like, right? Yeah. So we're not doing that one time.
So why?
I know.
So they're gonna go back and figure out.
We got to.
Okay, that's.
But I do have one question just in regards to these current grants, and that is just with the Friends grant. Because that is, I mean, don't we sponsor the whole, I mean, it's kind of a city program, isn't it? The LO REITs?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is bringing in an additional speaker to complement the existing program. Yes.
Typically, I call that double dipping, but
That's fine. I mean,
That's
it's,
fine.
yeah, I just wondered about, okay, that's fine. I mean, I know that Counselor Corrigan really grinded that down, so, okay. All right, any other questions on the process going forward?
So we'll come back,
One time a year.
with a simplified process with one application
Yeah,
for the both of them.
the intentions are all really good, and we appreciate, wanting to have this open and providing all the opportunities for people to apply. But sometimes that can make it even more confusing. I don't know. My head is spinning. Oh my gosh. I know they really had to sit down when they explained the initial thing to me. It had to be drawn out. I was like, well, that's a lot. Okay, is there a motion to adopt resolution 26-19?
Move to adopt Resolution 26-19.
Second?
All right, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
both
Good to
so
see you.
much.
Well done.
Good job. Okay. All right, next, we have item 8.4. This is the funding plan for the Willamette River Greenway Trail project. I'd like to invite our Park Analyst Program Manager, Ms. Hagert, and Director Monroe to join us. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon.
To you.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, again, Jeff Monroe, Parks and Rec Director, and with me is Kira Haggard, one of our project managers. We are here to give you positive news this evening about the Willamette Greenway Trail. So with that said, Kira, you're up.
We are really hoping to be the very first thing that you get to check off of your freshly adopted goals list for this year. This project will build about 870 feet of new pathway from George Rogers Park to where the trail currently ends in front of the river bend on the Willamette condos. I don't know if you can see my mouse on all of the screens. This is the missing link that will finally connect Foothills Park to George Rogers Park, and once it's finished, Lake Oswego will have over 2 miles of trail along the Willamette River, which is very cool. In addition to the trail connection, the part that's being built on park property here, these little switchbacks that you can see, provide an accessible route down this steep hill at the north end of the park, about to the ordinary high water line. The water in this aerial image was actually very low at the time it was taken, but if you've been down there during other seasons, you will know that oftentimes these rocks are underwater, so it goes down to about the ordinary high water line at the bottom of the hill there. Our schedule is to get it done this year. We received land use approval in December 2025, and since then, we have been working on our funding plan, finalizing our construction documents, submitting for permits, and preparing to go out to bid in mid-April. With this schedule, we would be coming back to you with a construction contract for award in mid-May and likely beginning construction at the very beginning of June. Fortunately, this is a smaller scope of a project, so we're just looking at a single summer of construction here, which is great for the neighbors. I know it can be really disruptive when we have projects going on down at George Rogers Park. So our goal is to be substantially complete by Halloween and totally out of their hair by Thanksgiving. And it's very important for this project in particular that we do most of the work during the dry season anyway, just because we're so close to the river. And what we are really here to talk about tonight, of course, is the budget. Our project team has estimated that this project will cost about $1.76 million, but this is an all-encompassing number. So this includes soft costs, a lot of which we have already incurred. These are things like paying our architects and our engineers, land use fees, permitting fees, those kinds of things, administrative fees. And our estimate for hard costs, or just the construction cost, is about $1.4 million. And that number does include a 20% estimated contingency that's already baked into that number. We've also included in that last item there an additional contingency of $50,000 just to address any unknowns that we run into, and also because we've learned over our experiences of doing construction over the past 3 years that it's really good to have a little additional contingency for market volatility, oil price increases, those kinds of things that we may run into that are unexpected. As for funding sources, we already have $240,000 from the Parks General Fund allocated to this project, and that's in the adopted budget already. We are proposing to use $300,000 of our Park and Recreation SDCs for this project. There are over $500,000 in that fund currently, so there's enough to cover that amount. We received a grant from the Mount Hood Territories Strategic Investment Program, which we're very excited about, so thank you, Mount Hood Territories, and that is for $80,000. And we have a request to Metro that we're working on for $1.14 million from our local share fund, which is just over $2 million in total, that total bucket. So this would be the majority of those local share dollars. And if you're quick at math, you will know that that does add up to 1.76. And the direct cost to the city of city dollars for this funding plan is actually only about $540,000, which is just a little over 30% of the total project cost. As we mentioned in the staff report, and you heard tonight from our Friends of Lusher Farm board members, the last time we talked about local share with you, we had planned to allocate about $640,000 towards this project and about $1 million towards the Lusher Farm driveway relocation. Since that time, we have learned from Metro that they have a goal of signing an IGA with all jurisdictions for their first project by June of this year. And we've also learned a lot more about the complexity and the likely cost of the Lusher Farm driveway project as we've worked through this land use process with Clackamas County. And we're just anticipating that that's still a few years out, so we can't meet our Metro kind of deadline goal with that project. That's why our recommendation is to reallocate $500,000 towards this project instead and keep $500,000 for Lusher Farm as well. We did speak with Friends of Lusher Farm before this meeting, and you heard from them tonight, and they were understandably disappointed, but they were also very gracious with this news. So I do just want to reiterate, both for them and for you, that we're still very committed to moving forward with Lusher. We're investing a lot on the staff time and on the consulting fees for our land use process, and we will continue to prioritize making physical improvements to that site once we're able to work through that. And speaking of community engagement, I just kind of wanted to share some background. I think it's kind of interesting that this is not a new project whatsoever. In fact, the city has been planning to connect Foothills Park to George Rogers Park by trail since at least 1994, or at least that's the first
Before
mention.
you were born. Right?
Maybe before I was born. I was born by 1944, but it's been a long time. That's the first time I can find it mentioned in a planning document, but it's probably even been before then. And it shows up in policy documents, planning documents, transportation plans, park plans, every few years, every time the city has done an update. And all of these planning efforts have involved a lot of engagement with the community about what their priorities are for the future. So to me, it says a lot that this project has continued to be reaffirmed as a priority throughout all of these documents. You might remember that we also did a lot of community engagement in 2023 when we were prioritizing our project list for local share dollars. And throughout that process, this project also consistently rose to the top of the list. I have a couple quotes on the screen from people who took our survey, which got about 500 responses through that process. And I think they really capture why this is important to the community. There's a lot of different reasons. This, it's hard to get 100% consensus on any public improvement project, but I just wanted to demonstrate this project has a lot of community support behind it and a lot of people who are really excited to see it happen. And of course, there are a lot of great opportunities, creating over 2 miles of riverfront trail and creating accessible access to the river, but there are always risks with any project. Most of these are budget and schedule risks, which we are managing through building contingencies into our budgets and buffers into our schedules. We're also continuing to ensure that we have community awareness and support for the project by meeting with neighbors and property owners. We have met with, this was on the last slide, I think, but we've met with the Old Town Neighborhood Association multiple times. We've met with the property owners whose properties those easements will cross multiple times, just to make sure that everyone is aware that this project is coming, that we're meeting all of their expectations and working with them to mitigate any impacts to the neighborhood and to the property owners. We will continue doing that both throughout construction and then once this project is actually open to the public. So, and we'll also continue working with our Metro funding partners like Metro to make sure that agreements are put in place, that kind of thing. Our next steps, if you are to approve our funding plan this evening, our next step would be to finalize the IGA with Metro for our requested local share amount of $1.14 million. We will solicit bids and award a construction contract that will come to you for signature, so will the IGA. We will hope to break ground on construction at the very beginning of June. And then hopefully this fall, we can celebrate completion of this project that city leaders have been envisioning for well over 30 years by taking a walk or a bike ride or some kind of roll from Foothills Park all the way to George Rogers Park. And we're happy to take any questions. I do have the project webpage up on the screen. We post updates and photos once we're in construction on there. So if anyone wants to follow along, that's an easy way.
Thank you, Ms. Hager. Great presentation. It's good news. Thank you for working to prioritize this. I mean, as you point out, it has been a long time in the works, and I mean, we did condemn these properties to make it happen. I think especially when we do that, we've got to make the project happen. We can't just condemn property and then sit on it forever. So this is important. I also appreciate your comments about the Friends of Lusher. I mean, we're obviously going through a land use application process with the county on that property, which is why it seems like everything is getting deferred, just because we can't make the improvements. And we do have improvements elsewhere where we could spend the money. Now, we had a little over 2 million in local share. Did we already do a project with some of it?
No, this will be the first project that we will have signed an IGA for with Metro. And the other projects that are included in our kind of funding bucket are the Lusher Farm driveway and then the West Waluga Neighborhood Connector Trail project.
Yes, okay. So, and how much, while Metro wants to get moving on the first batch, we do have time, we can hold the Lusher.
They have not given us a deadline for the remainder of the funds. There originally was no like specific deadline.
Okay.
But it's a bond-funded project, so they do obviously want to spend their bond dollars. And so what I understand is that they issued a goal, not an official deadline, but a goal of signing their first IGA at least by June of this year. And I haven't heard from them that there's a deadline for the remainder of the funds. But I mean, we do want to still do those projects. So for us, we're going to hope to be moving forward sooner rather than later.
Time getting the thing out, so. Well, it's great, it's great. We love the local share, it's great. I just do want to make sure that if we can, preserve that money, as is the plan for the Lusher to fund part of, we know that's not going to fund the entire improvements at Lusher, but once that happens. And then hopefully, can we commit to having a nice ceremony upon the completion of this project?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And then it's not raining in October, November.
Well, I'll put in whatever words I can
Okay,
with
good.
whoever is in
Could you
charge of
arrange
that.
that? You're pretty good at.
I've had pretty good luck
Yeah,
so
you've
far
done
with October celebrations.
Councilor Wu?
No, I wanted to advocate for my friend at Lusher Farm, and the mayor did it, which is good. I also know someone who really know about Metro and who's now in our team, and maybe if so that's all, and thank you. And it's always good to see parks. Every time you come here, it's for good news. It's really great,
Try to keep that up.
Yeah. And you're not gonna cut in half the football time this spring.
Wouldn't dream of it.
Okay, so good.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank you
Wu.
very much.
Councilor Verdict?
I just want to say thank you so much for being creative, finding these funds. We've been waiting for so long. I remember when our previous city manager, Doug Schmitz, was talking about this, working on getting the property. And I actually spoke with him not too long ago. I know he is really excited about this finally happening as well. So just thank you so much, because this is going to really help bring our city together in a way that a lot of us have been waiting for so long. So thank you.
Councilor Verdict. Councilwoman?
I just want to talk about timelines in the world of city government. This has been on the list for a long, long time. So is LORAC and a swim pool and so on. And to the Lusher folks, we love you, and we're going to get funding sooner or later. But let me put it pretty bluntly, too. I started advocating for Lusher Farms to be put into the Lake Oswego boundary in my first 3 months sitting on council, and that was a long time ago. And it is a frustration of local government coordination to get things done, and I guess I've learned patience, and I don't want to tell the Lusher people that you need more patience, because you've had a lot of patience already, but we do need to get Lusher Farms into the city of Lake Oswego so we can have a little bit more effective, I don't know, control or whatever you want to put the right word on, but it's important for us to realize that we have still lots of projects that are on the list, and it's like picking who's your favorite child, and we hate doing that. But in reality, we had a park spawn that we actually put more money into LORAC than we anticipated, just because of it was the right thing to do, and there's some other projects that didn't get done. And so this is just kind of unfortunately the reality of life, that you have projects, everybody wants things, and there's only so much money to go around. I want to do a big shout out for you guys figuring out how to get this done this year, because I would be very, very sad if we could not have the opening of this this year. I think everyone has been looking forward to this, and I really appreciate all the efforts that you guys pulled out of the hat to make this happen. And so work with the great contractors to get this done. And I think Lake Oswego is going to be a very happy place, because it's just 2 miles in Lake Oswego, but then the trail actually goes through up to West Lynn, all the way down almost to Oregon City, right?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, on Old River Road, so it's not a
Right, it's not
trail
a
the
true,
whole way.
yeah, but I mean, at least if you
it's
got on a
pretty comfortable.
bicycle or you wanted to walk, it'd be done in safety. And I think that's something that is very important to point out. We just need the railroad now to make the rails to trails, but that's, you can solve that in 2027. Okay. So, but anyway, thank you for all your efforts.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the update. Thanks for the good work. We'll look forward to celebrating in the fall.
Can I move to adopt?
We have it done. Yes, is there?
Move to adopt the funding plan for the Willamette River Greenway Trail Project.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Councilor Windland and seconded by Councilor Burdick. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Thank you both so much. Great news. All right, information from council. Does anyone have any information to share? No? Well, 4 of us went to the National League of Cities conference with with some members of the Youth Council. Just want to give a special shout out to both Gillian Del Rio and Tio, who was Martinez, who was just up here. They did a great job. They were, with the Youth Council members and with us, and it was a much different. I mean, many of us, we've been to these conferences every year. It was a little bit different. Just a relationship between the cities and the federal government this year. But what was really good was getting to see our colleagues, both from across the state of Oregon, as well as colleagues in other states, and getting to have the experience with the kids, getting to see our congressional representatives. It was honestly one of the better years. And then we got to do some kind of offsite visits with the Washington Post at the Pentagon as well with the lobbyist, thanks to actually one of the first members of the Youth Council who had studied in Washington, now works back there and is now helping these current members of Youth Council make these connections and whatnot. So it's a pretty cool full circle thing, but the Lake Oswego team did a great job. So kudos to them. I know it's a tiring thing supervising. Even though they're very easy students to supervise.
Well, I just want to say that Lake Oswego should be very proud that this youth delegation, which every year, they just impress the heck out of everyone that they meet. We should be very proud of our kids. They just do a wonderful job representing Lake Oswego. They're super bright and just really articulate and engaged. And so I think that's a reflection on our community and our high schools. They just do a great job. And it was a really fun trip, and we experienced almost a tornado.
Yes, we did.
That was fun. The whole federal government shut down at noon on Monday, and then nothing happened until like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock that night. But I guess, okay, whatever. So.
Peterson?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you for a good first 2.5 weeks. Counselor, thank you for your service. If you want to know what it's like on the other side, I gotcha. And I just also want to say thank you to Kim Ono once more. I don't know where she is, but she's probably finishing her work at her desk right now. Super, super dedicated public servant, and I will miss her already. And we will be working to, while we will not be able to replace her, find somebody to at least start the process of being able to serve at the same level she did. I just also want to thank Madison and Dio for trying to figure out how to do this community grants work and coming back and finding something that works for all of us, because it is a lot of work to figure out what works for external partners as well as what works with you guys and your time, I think. I also wanted to just note, I had asked the parks folks on the Willamette Greenway to talk a little bit more about risk management. Any feedback you have on whether that was useful information as we move through time and space here would be helpful. And then I'm looking forward to meeting with Ms. Halleck on the Lusher Farm. Love to get a tour and get updated. And just wanted to draw your attention lastly to an email from a constituent that just brought up the safety issues in the McVeigh-Stafford corridor and the corridor study that was done prior. The first project that's going to be done in that corridor is the Lakewood crossing, enhanced crosswalk. There's several coming up. The design for that starts in the next fiscal year, and then the project would go the following year. So there's 3 projects in the corridor that are planned out in the CIP, and I just want to make sure that we're on the same track. I recommend continuing with that process. And as we go out and work on the first project, that we make sure that all 3 projects are kind of talked about with the community as one corridor improvement, and start talking a little bit with them about access management issues to increase safety as we work out all 3 of those projects in that corridor. So if you have any concerns about that, let me know. But right now, my recommendation is keep going. Don't change the timing on any of that, because I think we're in a good place. So I think that was it. If you have any questions of me, I do have a new cell phone number, so I will get that to you.
Thank you. Good updates. Okay, the City Council is now going to enter executive session. Ms. Tatoya, will you please read the statutory basis for us?
The Lake Oswego City Council will now meet in executive session under ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub H to consult with an attorney regarding legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed, and subsection F to consider records that are exempt by law from public inspection. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No final decisions will be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will adjourn the meeting.
Great. Okay. So this will conclude the public broadcast portion of the meeting. We will recess and then reconvene in the side room. Thank you, everyone.